Hello everybody, this is Melissa from White Castle with Books, and this is my June wrap-up video and also an episode of Hooks and Books, which I'm going to share with you guys my latest, well, it's not my latest, but one of my latest sewing projects. So hooks doesn't really work because I wasn't really using a hook, but needles and books doesn't sound very good. Okay, so my project for this Hooks and Books session was a giant toothless stuffy. And this has actually been, wow, my lighting got super weird. Let's try that again. I did it again. This project, I've had the stuff to do this, the pattern and the fabric, for probably almost a year now, but I bought it all before we moved into our house, and then we just moved into our house and things got crazy, and I knew that it was going to be a really involved project, so I decided to just wait. But when we got really sick with some type of sickness that lasted almost 2 weeks, I was just at home and we weren't going anywhere. We self-quarantined for almost 3 weeks, waiting till we had all been at least 2 weeks with symptoms so that we were not contagious anymore. And I finally decided to tackle some projects that had just been like sitting on the back of the list to do, which has been helpful for me because since we're expecting another baby, I'm excited to get things just checked off the list, completed projects. So I was working on this for the first couple days of quarantine when I wasn't sick and my kids were, and I would work on it like when they were watching TV, just resting, or late at night. And honestly, the pattern, I was really excited to find this pattern. I think I found it on Etsy, but the pattern itself was just ended up being really difficult to understand, and I have since checked for that pattern again, and they don't have it up anymore, and she has a new version that looks potentially easier to follow. So I don't know what the new version is like, but the old version, at least for me, was really difficult to follow because there weren't a lot of indicators of where things needed to connect. So it's a really complicated pattern. There's a lot of little teeny pieces, like he's got all the spikes and his horns and his ears, and his face is multiple pieces, and then he's got his little paws with claws, and there are what would you call these, fins, I guess, plus the wings. It's gonna mess up my lighting again. And even the tail has the little strap-on piece from the movie. But I'm a huge Toothless fan, so I really wanted to do this project. And unfortunately, because I was struggling to understand the pattern for whatever reason, I did not do it exactly correctly and ended up with kind of a unique Toothless. So he's kind of my own version, but he's super soft. He's made with Minky, and I still think he's really cute. So he is another one of the guardians of the White Castle with Books. I have another dragon that I crocheted several years back, and they sit upstairs with our children's books, and it's just kind of fun for me because I love dragons and they're guarding the books. They guard the castle. So this is my Toothless, and that was my project for this episode. The books that I read in June, the first one that I read is Dave at Night, which is a middle grade, and it's by, hold on, where is the author's name? Oh, Gail Carson Levine. And I do really like Gail Carson Levine's books. Dave at Night was a really fun and interesting read. He has it pretty tough for the most part of the book, but I really like how he develops as a character, and I really like the way that the choice that he ultimately makes at the end of the book. So I think this is a really awesome read, and it's kind of different from Gail. I was trying to think if I have heard or if I've read any other books where she has a male main character, a male protagonist, and I feel like she did a really good job with it. So this is an awesome book to read if you need kind of a quick, easy middle grade to pick up. And then I read The Temporary Roomie by Sarah Adams. This is my 4th Sarah Adams book, and I also really liked this one. I'm pregnant, and so one of the main characters in this book is also pregnant. So it was just kind of like fun to read a book about somebody else who is going through the stuff that I'm going through right now, and the romance in it is really cute, and it's a, what do they call it when it's like enemies to lovers or whatever story, but I think she did a really good job with it. So it was quite entertaining and just fun to read. Usually when I get one of her books, I read them really quickly. I just kind of binge on them. So if you need a romance, this is a good one to pick up. Also in June, I read Peak, which is Secrets from the New Science of Expertise by Anders Ericsson and Robert Poole. This is kind of a self-help book. I believe you would call it a self-help book. And I really like it. I listened to it. It's probably up there with some of my favorite self-help books, but it's also one of the books that I need to kind of reread to feel like I'm really getting a lot of it. It basically just tells you that no extremely skilled person got to where they were without deliberate practice. It kind of like debunks the idea of prodigies, more or less. And I felt like it had a lot of research to back this up. I've since thought a lot about that, and I still feel like people can have a natural edge in fields, but honestly, if you don't put in the work, then that natural edge will not usually just, make you the top performer. You have to put in the work. And this book gives tips on how to do that effectively. And so it was helpful for me, especially in my writing and also with my other little things that I'm trying to keep up on. Like, I practice the piano just a little bit every day, and this book helped me kind of maximize that practicing time. Even though I don't practice a lot, it helps me to practice very deliberately so that I'm getting the most out of those practice sessions, which is helpful for anybody. Even if you're only spending a few minutes on something, you want to spend those minutes as productively as possible. So if you're looking to have peak performance, I feel like this book could be really beneficial. In June, I also reread No Drama Discipline. I talked about this in my previous wrap-up, and so I'm not going to elaborate on it, but this is currently my favorite parenting book. It's by Daniel J. Siegel and Tina Payne Bryson, and it just talks about, basically, it gives you really beneficial insight for connecting and teaching your children during the moments when you're trying to discipline them. It teaches you how to focus on the teaching instead of the punishment, which is usually what people focus on. And it's something that really helps me because I get impatient and I just want instant obedience. I want my kids to listen to me and I want them to do what I ask them to do. And so this helps me step back and remember to connect with them and allow them to develop their brains and develop their decision-making skills and also their people skills. So this is an awesome book if you have children or if you are a caregiver of children and you would like to learn how to better connect and then teach them in the difficult moments as you are trying to discipline. And finally, in June, I finished listening to The Iliad and The Odyssey. I've been listening to these books off and on, I don't even know how long, probably for over a year. And I have to admit that I don't feel like I got a whole lot out of it. I kind of just forced myself to finish them because I have this goal to read every book that we own, and I'm slowly working through that, trying to keep myself from buying too many new ones so that I can read all the books that we have. And I'm just not a super fast reader, and I don't prioritize a ton of time for reading because I spend a lot of time with my kids and other stuff. So anyways, if you don't know what the Iliad and the Odyssey are, it's the epic poems by Homer or compiled by Homer, or we don't really know who actually wrote them. They were verbally kept, verbally like documented or whatever. I guess that's not documentation, but they were kept verbally for a really long time, and then they were written down, and they're about the Trojan War and after the Trojan War, and just a bunch of Greek mythology. So it's really interesting if you're into that kind of stuff. It kind of got boring to me, but I'm still really glad that I finished it because I kind of wanted to have that experience. So yeah, if you want a whole bunch of Greek mythology and lots of like people getting slaughtered with spears, this is a good book for that. That concludes my wrap up for June this year. If you guys like this video, give me a thumbs up. Tell me if you like Toothless. I absolutely love the first movie in the How to Train Your Dragon series, but I feel like they actually did quite well with the other ones also, which is, in my opinion, so rare that it's worth noting. And I love Toothless. If I could pick a dragon out of all the dragons I know, Toothless would be my dragon. So if you guys love it, hate it, whatever, tell me what you think of Toothless and How to Train Your Dragon in the comments below, and also if you've read any of these books. And as always, thank you for watching, subscribe, and I'll see you in my next video.